Hey everyone, my name is Bhaskar, and here's how I biked over 300 miles from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. in 4 days. So on my first day, I started by crossing the Hot Metal Bridge over the Monongahela River. My goal was to ride about 85 miles so that I could reach my first campground before sunset. So you might be asking, how did you plan this trip out? And really, it was quite painless. In fact, I only decided I was going to do this like 3 days before. I was bored and it was a long weekend, so I figured, why not? Basically, the route is split in two, with the first part being the Great Allegheny Passage, or the Gap, running 150 miles from Pittsburgh to Cumberland, Maryland, where it then seamlessly connects with the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal Towpath, or the C&O Canal, straight into the heart of DC. Now, I will say completing the entire ride in less than 4 days is usually not recommended, not just because of the total mileage per day, but also, you can't fully appreciate everything along the way. But I don't have a free week that I can just dedicate to a bike ride, and, I wanted to challenge myself anyways. On the second day, the goal was to finish up the rest of the Gap and head into Maryland.
I found an island in your arms, country in your eyes.
At this point, I had reached the Eastern Continental Divide, which is the point where you enter into the Chesapeake Bay watershed from the Mississippi River watershed. It's also the highest point on the entire ride at 2,392 feet. Right before you enter Maryland, you go through the Big Savage Tunnel, which is the longest tunnel on the Gap. I'll skip ahead for you guys, but it was nice that at this point everything is downhill, so you can see how much faster I'm going once I was finally back into the light. I'd finally reached Cumberland, the official end of the Gap, and start of the C&O Canal Towpath. The C&O is a lot rougher than the Gap, and it actually follows the old canal almost the entire way. This is what one of the locks looked like. Not all of them were in as good shape as this one, but at one time they did in fact have specially designed boats traveling parallel to the Potomac River on the canal between DC and Cumberland. This was my last leg before I reached the campsite on my second night. It's called the Towpath Tunnel. This one is the longest tunnel on the C&O part of the trip, and I'm still not totally sure if I'm supposed to ride here. It was so bumpy, damp, and narrow, like I almost fell into the canal 3 times. It was pitch black too, and I was just praying that nobody was trying to walk or bike from the other direction. On the third day, my plan was to ride about the same distance I had on day 2 and to get near Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. Most of the path started to look like this too, and I'm not gonna lie, it got pretty boring until there was actually a fallen tree blocking the entire thing and I had to lift my bike over the branches. It was a nice break for my legs.
Sunday morning, dawning. It's just a restless feeling by my side. Early dawning, Sunday morning. It's just the wasted years so close behind.
I purposefully made my last day my shortest one so I could get into DC by around lunchtime. By now I was feeling pretty sore, so I was glad that today was my shortest, but in many ways it felt like the longest because all I was thinking about was just reaching DC. So it was a lot more of a mental challenge. I also saw a turtle, which was pretty cool. 10 miles outside of DC, it still looked like this, which kind of negatively affected my motivation. It made me feel like I was in the middle of nowhere, Maryland, and that I had so much further to go. But then at some point, I suddenly saw the Washington Monument in the distance, and my eyes were actually watering, like I couldn't believe I'd arrived. So here at this point, I'm actually approaching the official end of the Canal Towpath, which is mile 0 in the neighborhood of Georgetown in DC. And I'd made it. I wasn't done yet though. I still had to ride over to Union Station and hop on a 7-hour Amtrak right back to where I had started. Thanks so much for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments.